This week, I chose Universal Harvester by John Darnielle.
And I read it.
And let's get into that review that we made. Universal Harvester is all about these VHS tapes that have been written over. So you have these normal movies, then it cuts, and then there's this weird stuff that somebody filmed over it, and then the movie continues. And our main character, Jeremy, who works at a video hut, a Blockbuster-esque VHS tape thing, he discovers these tapes.
People have brought them in complaining about something unidentifiable and odd. But so he checks out these films, he looks them over, and he realizes that yes, there is something rather disturbing on these things. Then it really just denigrates to a very jumbled and kind of confusing mix of events.
This book has a lot of other characters that kind of become the main character as we go on. Some characters are dropped and added on, and these characters are also interested in the tapes. And the whole premise, all these characters doing their different things, they all kind of unite universally because of these tapes, and they want to know what's going on. And at some point we do find out, kind of. You kind of get this like horror vibe from it in the beginning, which then totally goes away towards the end because that was a mistake, it should have continued.
It's disjointed in that there's a really drastic like time shift a lot of the time, and you switch perspectives very rapidly and you don't really understand what's going on. Also, new characters are incredibly like always introduced, and there's just so many of them, it's hard to keep track of who they are or what purpose they have in telling this larger plot.
There's these big jumps in time, and the author probably expects you to fill in the holes between these jumps in time, but you can't sometimes because a lot of it wasn't written that well. It was a very interesting premise that turned into a lot of nothing.
You're really interested in the beginning part of the book because the beginning of the book is actually quite good and interesting and captivating, and you want to know what's happening next. But you lose interest because of these shifting, this shifting of everything. You just can't really follow along, and therefore you don't really even want to predict what's happening next because you just think that nothing has any meaning within this book.
The main characters that we have, the several that we do, are written well. You know their motives, you know how they would react to things, the dialogue is pretty realistic, and you like the first main character, Jeremy, and then you like the second one, but by the time you get to the third one, you just don't care.
The ending of this book was, in my opinion, a bit atrocious. I thought that it wasn't very well done. It had a bit of like forced resolution and yet didn't resolve anything. It was very oddly done, and that it left this plot line of what could have been a good mystery and horror novel, and it left it and it turned it into just nothing, in my opinion, which was a bit disappointing. I was let down by the ending of this book.
Oh, also, by the way, the cover of this book is amazing. It's probably one of the best covers I've ever seen in a book. Too bad what's inside doesn't equal that. The guy who wrote this book, the author, does actually have an interesting story. He's like a singer or somebody in this band, and he's also writing books on the side. So that's cool. Overall, I give this book a 3 out of 5 because the beginning is so good, but then it just falls through.
I would rate this book a 2.75 because although the first half of the book was quite interesting and well written and good, the second half of the book almost entirely ruined it for me, and I feel like that's important to recognize.
I think it's interesting and maybe is worth dabbling into. So, maybe do check out this book. It's kind of up to you.